I'll let you do that.
What?
Yes.
No, really. I mean, if it's trouble.
No, do it. Do it. I love it. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ann Packham. Welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Before we get started, I invite you to silence any cell phones or anything like that that may distract you. Also, for those who are new, the exits are at the door you most likely came in, out there in the Memorial Garden, or out the door this way in case of an emergency. And before we get too far into our service, we like to recognize that we have friends online who are also invited to participate in the service. So if you would take a minute and just wave to our friends who are on our Zoom link. I think we need to let Lori know that the service has started. Yeah? Okay. Okay, we're good. All right. We have a lot going on today, as you can see. We have potluck after the service, so please stay after and enjoy whether you brought something or not. I always tell people the first time we ever walked into this building was a potluck Sunday, and we didn't know that, and we were like, oh, we can't stay. We didn't bring anything, and we stayed, and here we are. Like, what is that, 14 years later or something like that? So there you go. Before we start the actual service itself, we invite our committee chairs to come to the microphone. If there's any pertinent announcements, please be brief. And if you need me to bring the microphone to you, I can do that.
Morning, everybody. David McElroy. Tomorrow night is the men's support group. It's at 6:30 here. It's potluck or bring your own. And would love to see the men that have not been here before come on out. People identifying as men, come on out, 6:30 tomorrow, and love to have you.
Good morning, Carrie Mitchell with Personnel. For the final time, I'm going to pass around the bag for staff bonuses, end-of-year staff bonuses, so if you didn't have an opportunity to before, I'll be passing it around. I missed this side of the room last week. There's also a way to donate online, so if that's more convenient for you.
Hi, Lori Hospitality. You know that there's the potluck after service, and like I said, there's no excuse for not coming. But I'll give more instructions at the end of service. The other thing is that if you signed up for coffee service, I'm having a little trouble getting hold of Jill right now. Could you help me by re-signing up so that I know when to expect people? So the sheets will be with me after service, and I'd really appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I don't see it up here this week, but next Sunday after service, we're having our next New Inquiring Minds discussion, and we are going to be thematically aligned with the weekend because we will be using the winter solstice as a jumping off point to talk about the human experience of time, for both for us and what we imagine it might have been like in prehistoric times. So I hope to see you there.
Hey guys, Derek, Facilities and Grounds. Hey, the fire marshal told me to clean out the closet back there, and I found 2 cases. See these size? Right? I don't know why we have them, but they don't fit our ACs. Yeah, 22 by 24. So if anybody wants them, if this is the size that fits you, these cost like $20 at Home Depot each. So I didn't want to just throw them away, right?
Hello, Tay with RE. So next week we're going to be doing our winter solstice camp out, and that coincides with our winter solstice service. And so that will be Saturday the 20th. The full plan is that between 4:30 to 5:30, come set up your tents, your chairs, your lights, your whatever, your camping supplies. 5:30 we'll be doing the service, which Pam has taken the lead in setting up and everything and has had a lot of help, but she's our person who has done the most for the leading. And then after that, we'll be doing like a cookout by the fire and then activities and storytellings and everything throughout the rest of the night. You're welcome to stay overnight or you can leave at any point, but that's what's happening on Saturday. And if you have any more questions, feel free to come and ask me. Everyone is welcome. RE is taking the charge on it, but it is open to everyone. It is not just to RE families or anything like that.
And just to add on to what they had said, because somebody had emailed me, the solstice service is welcome to everybody. It doesn't have to be part of RE. You're more than welcome to just come for the service. I'd invite you to stay a little bit afterwards around the campfire, and but that's up to you. And looking forward to seeing you all there.
And then the following day, on the 21st, we will be doing the holiday pageant, and so that will be taking place intertwined through the service. So the kids will not have proper RE, they will be here, they will be our actors, they will be in part our service leaders because they'll be running the plays and the characters and everything. So that will be the Sunday, and then the 28th, there is no RE at all. We will not have anyone, we will not be back there properly. Some of our staff may or may not be here. If they're here, they might take kids out, but we will not have like an RE class. So just expect to be in the service the whole time for the 28th. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the camp out. I wouldn't get here before 4:30 because we have a renter here and they're here until 4:30. So they give them a couple minutes to clear out before we all descend with our tents and everything like that. Right. So my opening words today are from the Worship Web, written by Adina Danoff, and it's called "There's Making in a Miracle." The magic of Christmas is man-made, or often woman-made, or to put it without gender, human-made. The magic of Christmas is crafted, and that doesn't just mean handcrafted, baked in an oven, glued, taped, tied with a bow. The magic of Christmas is in intention. The magic of Christmas takes planning and work. There's magic in the Christmas lights, but they need to be untangled. Checked bulb by bulb, put into place, turned on. There's magic in the cookies, but the ingredients need to be bought. Ovens need to be warmed, recipes need to be followed, treats need to be taste tested. There's magic in each gift, but lists need to be made and checked twice. Items need to be chosen and wrapped, placed under a tree. It's all magic. And it doesn't just happen. It's made. Just like how each year a miracle is celebrated. But that very first Christmas, that miracle didn't just happen either. The Magi didn't just show up at the night with the star, when the star appeared. It was a long-awaited sign. The trip took planning, time, a journey, faith. The shepherds didn't just happen to be around. They were working, tending. Glory, glad tidings, good news to all, and yet sheep still needed to be watched. There's still work to be done. And the baby wasn't just born. No, months of waiting, growing, changing, Mary losing parts of herself she would never get back, and life she once knew, dreams she once had, a sacrifice of love. So the magic of Christmas isn't necessarily magic at all. It's planning, it's thoughtfulness, it's waiting, it's work, it's love. And yet, that in and in itself is magic. In the world full of pain, that such light can still shine. So really, it may be a miracle after all. Our opening music this morning is Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella. It is found in your hymnal, number 233, and I invite you to stand as you're willing and able.
Ring the torch, Jeanette Isabella, ring the torch and quickly run. Christ is born, good folk of the village. Christ is born, and Mary calling. Ah, ah, beautiful is the mother. Ah, ah, beautiful is the child. Come and see within the stable, come and see the Holy One. Come and see the lovely Jesus, round his brow, his cheeks are rosy. Hush, hush, quietly now he slumbers. Hush, hush, quietly now he sleeps.
So our chalice lighter today is Joe. Joe is 6 years old, uses the pronoun she, her, and next Friday she's going to her grandmother's house. We'll say the words on the screen. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And each week we like to affirm why it is we come together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. And I'm going to go ahead and light the menorah as well. It's the beginning of Hanukkah season. So I'm going to do that before we forget to move on and do that. And I consulted with Jill that we light the shamus candle first in the middle and then from there. Right. This is the time in our service where we have an opportunity to share some joys that we have in our lives or concerns. Please come to the microphone that I'll put here in the middle of the room and share. And if you need me to bring the microphone to your seat, I can do that.
It's almost winter break.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Pam Angel. It's been a tough week. A couple of months ago, I planned to go down to South Florida to visit with my friends down there and celebrate a friend whose birthday was last weekend. She was turning 95, and a group of us from UU and Boca get together. They get together every Friday, and we were going to celebrate her birthday. And on Sunday, she went into the hospital, and on Tuesday, she went into hospice, and she passed away 3:30 Wednesday morning before I was able to get there. But the group of women, because women do gather, sorry guys, but women do gather, got together on Friday, and we ate chocolate because Mary loved chocolate, and we told wonderful stories because she was just a phenomenal woman. And then unfortunately today is also the 79th birthday of my best friend, and she's celebrating it somewhere else. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. David McElroy. I just want to thank the people that came out to see Christmas Carol last week. We filmed part of it, and then the rest was not. We have one more performance, the final live performance by me. I'm going to do it elsewhere, but I'm not going to do live anymore. That's next week when everything else is happening on Saturday the 20th at the First U. And if you're not here at the camp out and want to see Christmas Carol, come on over to First U. It'll be at 7 o'clock, I believe. Yeah, and you will like it because I danced with Paula in the show, and she was very good.
Hi, Alyssa here. So my dad, I announced a week or two ago, was undergoing major surgery. First, I just wanted to say thank you to the pastoral care team for sending me a really sweet card. And the good news is he got to go home. It's still going to be a long road of recovery, but he's doing a lot better. He's in good spirits, and he was just so happy to be able to go home. So, thank you. 100%.
My mom went to New York. Okay. For over 20 years, I've been privileged to be able to go into my backyard and meditate for retreats, and I will start my next year-end retreat next Friday. So I won't be here the next couple of Sundays, but we'll be leading a one-day meditation retreat on January 10th in Apopka. If anyone's interested, there's a flyer on the door over there, or you can talk to me personally. But I'm very grateful that my wife has been generous enough to let me do this and to build the cottage that we did back there. So thank you, Paula. You do. Yes. So I wish you well, folks.
Peter always signs off with, "I wish you well," on his communications, and I think that's so sweet. I would like to share that one of my oldest and absolute dearest friends who lives in Jacksonville will be coming to stay with me next week, and I just am absolutely thrilled to see her. And the secondary bonus is it's making me clean my house.
Hey there, Allison.
My first joy is that my parents are here today. So my parents are over there. My second joy is that today's the first day of Hanukkah, and we have a menorah gifted me by my grandfather who passed away earlier this year. Before he died, he wanted me to have this menorah that's super old. It was a wedding gift, and it's been sitting out there, and now I'm really excited to light it for the first time. Do you have anything? No?
We want to share a joy that yesterday a group of us from Triple U went with Roderick and William and a group of folks from their community to the Gaylord Palms to see the ice display. We went to dinner, we saw acrobats. It was a blast. Just a really wonderful time, and we're so grateful that he organized that and was so inclusive for all of us.
Hi. Yeah, this, Louisa and I went too, and it was wonderful. So we're gonna, you wanna put that in for me? Thank you. That's for our thing, and then then we have one to celebrate for Eva as well, who had a marvelous performance this past Friday at her preschool, and they sang 5 songs, I think, and they were absolutely wonderful, and I got to go. Okay, can we put another 2 in for us? Okay. That's for me, you put one for you. In there. Great, thank you. Here, go give that to Allie. Thank you,
All right. Allie Carville here. We've had a joyous winter celebrations of music with my mom performing in band concerts, my brother performing and his girlfriend, and all together. And then yesterday we had a great time going through like a nature area, and it was like a drive-through kind of thing. So it was like beautiful and accessible at the same time. Thank you very much. And yeah, and my grandmother, my mom's mom, is coming for the holiday season, so we also had a house cleaning time. So yes. It always happens, yes.
I gotta go to the cooker with my grandma.
So, your differential equations update is he passed. He passed on the exam on December 5th. He says his final is today, but the university says there are no exams today, so I think it might be tomorrow. So it's either today or tomorrow. So we're going to continue the good vibes for differential equations, because this is it. This is the final play of the game. Whatever game you want it to be, that's it. This is it. And then this is partly joy, partly concern. I talked to my 89-year-old mother on Friday, which I do every Friday. And she told me that her vision has gotten to the point where she can't drive anymore. So yay, she acknowledged that, and she willingly is. So she kept my dad's car, who died almost 16 years ago. So she sold a car. I'm not sure which one. I mean, she told me which one, but I don't know if it was her car or his car, because I got it confused. So she still has one car that she's looking to give to someone in the family, so I'm helping her with that. But this means that her vision isn't so great, and I'm just going to manifest that her vision holds steady so she can still read because she loves to read, and she can still play bridge because she loves to play bridge, and so she can still live a really full life and just needs rides to places. So.
Hi, everyone. Tay with one joy and one statement she forgot from committee moments. The statement from committee moments is donations of campfire foods would be appreciated for the cookout next week. So hot dogs, hot dog buns, s'more stuff, sides, chips, stuff like that. Greatly appreciated, but we will have stuff provided, obviously. The joy is that my winter break is also coming up from my other job as well. Love the kids, happy for a break. But I will be spending my time in Texas for the holidays with my whole family. So.
Morning, everyone. Miguel Rodriguez here. Just one concern and three joys. So, that's me. One concern is Brown University. My thoughts, and the memory of the victims and everything. Yeah, and okay. So joys. You did it again, David. Thank you so much for that. One man Christmas Carol. I saw it last week. Eric and I were on a cruise, and we were hoping to make it on time, and so we told the captain, push the ship faster to get there, and he said, but there are icebergs ahead. And I said, don't matter, we're gonna, we're the king of the world. No, but it was wonderful, and of course, with Chloe's help and directing, that is, so, the energy and the passion, and I think you get younger every time you do it. It may be the ghost of Christmas past. Yeah, or exactly, during quit. The blue holiday that we had, blue service. Blue, yeah, that was wonderful. I was here for that, and that was not blue. To me, it was inspiring and hopeful. So that's another joy. And the third one is, I thank the great state of Indiana for voting not to gerrymander its districts. So go Hoosiers.
And I have a couple of joys to share. One, we had a very nice time at Laura Owen's house on Friday night for her holiday party, so we thank her so much for opening her lovely home once again for all of us. And then I mentioned last week that Rachel Wisner's daughter had a breast cancer scare, but it turned out that the lump was benign. So she's good, and all is well. So. And I literally just got a text from my daughter, Amelia, who lives in D.C., that she's meeting up with my niece today. And for anybody who knows that what's been happening with my niece over the next couple of years, this is huge. So I'm just really excited about that. So just take a moment and pause for all the joys and maybe some of the concerns that were not shared today, and keep them in our hearts. Amen. So we have our time for all ages. Tay, I welcome you to take it away.
Hey, hi everyone. So have you ever gotten something and been unsure what it is? Yeah. This seems to be a common issue in the cookie cutter community. So much so that there are entire Facebook pages dedicated to weird and unidentifiable cookie cutters and seeing if others can help shed some light on the shape. Here is one that I pulled from the pages. There we go. So, so do we have any guesses on what this is? Okay, wait. A bat that's upside down, an angel, a bird, Australia, Miles, a leaf, a camel head, Joe, a bat, a dolphin, question mark. With a bag, so Santa with his sack of toys. Chipmunk with lots of nuts. Eva. A bird, Alyssa. Raccoon, Eric. A witch on its side. So those are all some options. Nothing very conclusive. So if someone said an angel, what? No, I didn't say you were right yet. I sent these to several of my friends and asked them to draw in what they saw. And so here's what they came up with, which is pretty similar to what a lot of you said. So we had someone who said an angel.
We had someone who said a bat. That was the interpretation of bat. It kind of looks like a mouse. That was Matt's, so I will tell him his drawing needs a little. It was a man whistling. That was a bird taking flight, I think. That was a camel, supposedly. So now we're back to the original image. I'm getting there. But since I specifically pulled this cookie cutter because there is technically a right answer based on what it was manufactured to be. So, and one of my friends did get it right, and someone in here came very, very close as well. And so, before I show what it's supposed to be, does anyone have any new guesses with the images? Derek? It looks like what? Oh, the Fox Shocks logo. A bluebird? Okay. So what about this angle? We kind of saw it as the man whistling or the camel. Any cactus? Still a leaf? This angle? Any difference? Joe? Angel? Shrug, leaf, plastic log. This angle? Leaf? No more answers? Musical instruments? A music sign? A witch? It is, in fact, technically a witch. So, it is intended to be the head of a witch, but as we saw, a lot of us had different perspectives and ideas into what we were seeing. And while in this case, there was a technically most correct answer, it does not take away from the validity or imagination of the other answers provided. As we saw, it worked as an angel, a bat, probably a leaf if one of my friends saw it. It could have worked as any of those things. And that's the problem with perspective, is that it's hard to shift an image or an event once you've seen it. In this case, even with the pictures provided, some of you may not have seen or still do not see what my friends saw in this cookie cutter. Some of you may respect that, yes, technically it is a witch, but you quite like it as a bat much more and would continue to use it as such. And some of you, as soon as you saw the witch, completely abandoned your previous ideas and can now only see it for what it is, as a witch. Wayne Dyer once said, "Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change." And with this image, we were able to provide different perspectives and options to view it. We rotated it, we could color it in, and we could provide context clues. I did forget to say it was from a Halloween set of cookie cutters, so I forgot the context clues on that one. I was very engaged in the answers. But we were able to review it from multiple lenses to come up with an answer that made the most sense to us. Us looking at something from different angles changed our perception, some consciously, some unconsciously, but in doing so, we were able to find an answer that felt right for us, even if it was not necessarily the right answer. It is for this reason that keeping an open mind and the continuously pursuing knowledge is so important. Some things gradually unfold with more information and layers that come out. And with each of our view and each experience of the event may shift as well. Maybe it will be small shifts or maybe something much grander, but these shifts help limit our biases and expectations on how the world should be. Thank you.
Now is the time for our interlude and offering. This is an opportunity to be generous and help us support the work that goes on at this church. There's multiple ways to give. We also support a local nonprofit, and this quarter it's the Hope Community Center in Apopka. So please give generously, and I think Carrie's also passing around the basket for staff bonuses. And we will have our choir singing. Now we get a chance to sing out our children. You give me a note there. Oh, we love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Our speaker today is one of our own members, Allison von Tilborgh, who is a media consultant, interfaith advocate, writer, and scholar, working on the intersection of food, faith, and culture. She holds a Master of Theological Studies from Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley, where her thesis explored the intersectional history of American vegetarian movements. Her work focuses on Sabbath practice, veganism, biblical interpretation, and Jewish studies. Allison's going to speak to us today on rediscovering the unlikely joy of the Nativity. Thank you, Allison.
Okay, let's get situated. Thanks for having me come back. Let's see, how do we get this to work? Okay, I might need you, Miguel, to move to the next slide. Okay. Rediscovering the unlikely joy of the Nativity. Finding hope when the world is upside down. I used to not be very inspired by the story of the Nativity. You know what I'm talking about? The birth of Jesus. And by the way, I'm going to be using the word Jesus a lot in this presentation, so fair warning. Prepare yourself. I loved Christmas growing up. My mom adores Christmas. Her birthday is near Christmas. I love the tree. I love the music. But the story of the Nativity didn't do much for me. If anything, it felt maybe a little propaganda, you know, Holy Family, and what's up with this baby, and I don't know, it didn't do much for me. Maybe you can relate. Until last year, if you can picture back last year, December 2024, things felt pretty dark, right? There was some hard stuff going on in the culture, personally. I had some family issues, health issues. And in that time, the story of the Nativity felt new to me in a way I wasn't expecting. I saw it less as a religious text and more as a model of reversal, of upside downness. And I was able to appreciate a new aspect of the story that I hope you'll be able to hear in my presentation here, and maybe look at it with a different lens. So I started writing about this a year ago. I started with a Facebook post that went semi-viral. Then it ended up being featured in a magazine. Then it became a chapter in a book called The Sacred Undoing. And then just literally a few days ago, it became a standalone booklet. So this is a cool story. A client, of mine had read what I had written and was so moved by it that he asked, can I make this standalone, send it to 200 of my closest friends, and can I ship you some? So I do have some for you after service if you want some. And this article is written from a Christian theological perspective. So I'm going to be using a lot of God language. I'm going to be using a lot of Jesus language. But that doesn't mean that this story is just for people who identify as Christians. I really wrote it for faith leaders from a leadership perspective, really also for you all in mind. So I hope that you can listen to it and think about it in your own context, in your own life, and not be scared by some of the language I'm going to be using. Because I know that it can inspire a response in us, you know? Your heart racing, maybe there's some trauma going on. But I'm moved by it, and I hope that you'll be moved by it too. Okay, let's take inventory of our cast of characters in this story. Can I go to the next slide? We have an unwed teenage girl, 9 months pregnant, far from home. Her fiance, not the father of her child, trying to figure out what to do. We have poor shepherds who show up with nothing but their wonder. Foreign millionaires who bring really impractical gifts and a little bit of confusion. We have some barn animals. We have land that offers itself when no human would. And a helpless infant who is rumored to be the downfall of the empire. This is all completely upside down. And that's the point. Because nothing about this picture screams God with us. And yet, it is precisely this messy, misfit, subversive scene that reveals the greatest truth of leadership in life, that there is still hope when the world is upside down. Next slide. So we're going to go through each of these. I'm going to give a little vignette on each of these characters. And I really believe that the story was designed for us to connect to maybe one of these characters, a few of these characters. So we're going to start with Mary. And I have some images on the screen just to help you reflect as I'm talking about them. Mary, enduring when everything falls apart. Think back to when you were 16. What kept you up at night? High school drama, fashion choices, a crush not texting you back. If you're Gen Z like me, maybe your Instagram grid, aesthetics. Now, picture Mary. Probably that same age, navigating one of the most disorienting, wildly inconvenient, poorly timed leadership assignments in human history. Let's take stock. She's pregnant, unmarried. She's far from being in control of her own narrative. Her reputation, shot. Credibility, suspect. There's no plan, no mentor, no playbook, and somehow she's carrying, literally and spiritually, a calling that no one else understands. And just when it seemed like they can't get any more complicated, she's forced by imperial decree to travel more than 150 kilometers on foot while 9 months pregnant through hills for a census because her fiance's distant ancestral connection to King David. There's some logistical reason, but the actual reason is imperial control. Nothing about the situation is ideal. Everything about it is strange. And yet, she moves. This is persistence when nothing makes sense, when the timing is all wrong, when the conditions are all wrong, the systems around you are indifferent or hostile, and the people around you have no idea what you're really going through. Next slide. It's easy to move onward when the big picture is clear and the path before you is hooved. It's something else entirely to persist when the road ahead is unknown, your body is exhausted, your name is being whispered in gossip circles, and the only certainty is the vague memory of a divine whisper you said yes to months ago. Soren Kierkegaard wants to find faith as holding on to uncertainties with passionate conviction. I think that's Mary. Not blind obedience, but stubborn, embodied conviction in the face of pure absurdity. Not because she's fearless, but because something holy is happening, whether anyone else sees it or not. She doesn't get to control the timing, she doesn't get to choose the conditions, but she carries the calling anyway. Despite the pain, the noise, the social pressure, the total lack of predictability, she keeps moving. Not because the circumstances are affirming, but because the voice of God once was. Thomas Aquinas wrote, "Love takes up where knowledge leaves off." Maybe that's what sustained her. Not clarity, but love. Love for what was promised. Love for the people depending on her. Love for the God who whispered something into being that hadn't taken form yet. Mary's leadership wasn't loud, it wasn't public, it wasn't steady. She shows up, tired, probably bleeding, surrounded by strangers, still reeling from birth, and somehow she's still leading. Scripture tells us, quote, "Mary treasured all these things and pondered them in her heart." Not after things got easier, not once the story made sense, but right in the middle of the mess. Next slide. Joseph. The strength to support what you didn't start. By now, it's no shock to anyone that first century Palestine was a deeply patriarchal society. Everything, status, lineage, legitimacy, ran through the man's name. That's why Mary, at the end of her pregnancy, was forced to travel such a long distance, because legally and culturally, she already belonged to Joseph, and his lineage dictated her location more than her well-being did. Even the gospel story itself nods to this. In Matthew, we're introduced to Joseph not by personality or profession, but by genealogy. And yet, for a man who enters the narrative through bloodline, Joseph's real legacy ends up being nothing to do with biology. At first, we learn very little about him, just that he was pledged to marry Mary, and that when he learned that she was pregnant, like a good guy would, he resolved to quietly break off the engagement. Not because he was angry, but because he didn't want to disgrace her publicly. Eventually, he comes around on the whole Holy Spirit conception situation. He stays, he marries her, he names the child, and he raises someone else's son. That last part matters. Because in faith leadership, there will be seasons when you're asked to carry a vision that you didn't cast, to protect something that you didn't conceive, to make room for someone else to shine, even when the spotlight used to land on you. Joseph doesn't fight for center stage, even though he was probably raised to believe he should. In nearly every Byzantine nativity mosaic, he's tucked into the corner. But it's not because he's passive. It's because he chooses not to insist on a spotlight that he was culturally conditioned to expect. He knows his role, and he plays it with strength. Are Mary and Jesus' blood? No. But are they his family? Absolutely. Because he chooses them. Not out of obligation, not for optics, but out of love. It's what some call chosen family. Because leadership isn't always about being appointed. Sometimes it's stepping in where you weren't expected to. It's about taking responsibility for something you didn't create, defending someone you don't owe, investing in something that won't ever bear your name. Joseph could have walked away. In fact, every cultural script available to him probably suggested he should. But instead he stays, he listens, he adapts. He raises a child who isn't his and anchors a family that wasn't his to begin with. So Joseph shows us a version of masculinity that isn't about dominance, but presence. He protects, he provides, he believes, he stays. And in a world that celebrates bold visionaries, Joseph reminds us that sometimes the most vital leaders aren't the ones up front, but the ones who quietly anchor the story from behind the scenes. The world around him might have expected bravado, but instead he offers belief. The culture around him might have expected him to walk away. Instead he leans in. His job isn't to be impressive. His job is to be faithful. Next slide. The shepherds. The power of wonder in a cynical world. Let's paint the picture. It's just another night shift. A crew of shepherds, probably half asleep, chatting quietly to stay awake, scanning the horizon for predators. Same rhythm as always. Protect the flock, stay alert, try not to get eaten. Then, a sound. Something strange in the air. One of them thinks he sees a ghost. Before they can confirm or deny, the sky explodes in some kind of mystical army. Not exactly your average workplace hazard. Trippy, to say the least. They're terrified, confused, maybe a little exhilarated. Nothing interesting ever happened to poor shepherds like them. And yet, they're the first ones to get the memo. And the message is bizarre. The Messiah, salvation of the world, is here, like now. And he's a baby. And you'll find him wrapped up and lying in an animal's food dish. You have to imagine at least one of these shepherds took a second to look into his snack pouch and wondered if something was messing, with his perception. Because this wasn't just unexpected, it was downright ridiculous. The kind of news that should have gone to palace officials or religious elites, but instead it comes to the guys who sleep in fields, smell like sheep. I think that's the point. The kingdom breaks in not through power or prestige, but through proximity and perception, through those who are close enough to the margins to still be paying attention. The shepherds don't overanalyze, they don't dismiss it, they don't logic their way out of it, they don't demand clarifications. They simply wonder, and they move. They cross the hills under the cover of night, maybe giggling, maybe stunned into silence, we don't know. Maybe animals trailed behind them, a bit unruly, disrupting the neatness of the stable. Maybe the shepherds immediately understood what the rest of us still struggle with, that in this new world that the scriptures paint, that the small things matter most, that wonder is not weakness, that humility is not the absence of leadership, but it's the starting point of it. They didn't come bearing influence or insight. They didn't have a strategic framework. They brought something we too often forget to value: pure, unfiltered awe. In an age where leadership is synonymous with certainty and vision and control, Shepherds remind us that some of the greatest movements of God begin with interruptions and wonder, not spreadsheets and strategy. They didn't have much to give that night, but they offered their curiosity, their joy, their movement toward mystery. And in return, they witness glory. Sometimes the most faithful thing a leader can do is pause, behold, and let their heart be moved again. Next slide. The Magi. The humility to worship where you least expect it. The Magi could not have been more different from the shepherds. Wealthy, educated, likely older, traveled, kind of like you use. Religious, yes, but not in the way that aligned with the context they were entering. They weren't insiders. They weren't locals. They didn't share the theology, the lineage, or even the language of the story they were stepping into. And yet they showed up. Picture it. 3 rich foreigners walk into a barn that smells of livestock and birth. They step over animal droppings, past a dazed teenage couple, and into a moment so wildly underwhelming, it must have stopped them in their tracks. This is not what they expected that brilliant star to lead them to. They brought expensive gifts, frankincense, myrrh, and gold. None of it was practical. None of it needed in that moment. And still, they bow. They kneel. They don't correct the scene. They don't question it. They worship. Which makes you wonder, maybe that whole encounter did more for the Magi than it did for the Holy Family. Because that's what wise people do. They know when to release control, when to let awe take over. These men used to be treated with honor. Here, they fall to their knees in a stable. They don't send a messenger, they don't schedule a meeting. They get low, on the ground, in the dirt. And this is what real leaders eventually learn, that not everything is meant to be directed, shaped, or fixed. Some things are just meant to be witnessed, and some moments are meant to break you open in all the best ways. Their worship wasn't efficient, their timing wasn't perfect, their gifts weren't practical, but what they offered was what the world is often starved for: unentitled, uncalculated reverence. They didn't try to elevate the space to match their status, their clothes. Instead, they let the poverty of the place elevate their perspective. And that's the kind of leadership that actually shifts things. The truth is, if you lead long enough, God will bring you to a place where everything you thought you knew gets redefined, where your wealth, wisdom, strategy won't buy you clarity, and all you'll be able to do is kneel in the mystery and call it holy. It's not a detour, it's the arrival. Next slide. Creation. The leadership of silent, faithful witness. Saint Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of animals, was the first to ever set up a nativity scene. It was Christmas 1223. Prior to that first display, Christmas was often celebrated by attending a Latin Mass, which means most attendees wouldn't have been able to interpret it. In lieu of understanding Scripture, many people experience their faith through art, albeit a very different kind of art than what Francis had in mind. When 13th century art depicted the Nativity, it was often presented much rosier than the barnyard reality we've been talking about. But Francis was on a mission to bring the story to life through guerrilla theater. He set up the scene in a nearby cave where he assigned townspeople to play roles such as Mary, Joseph, the shepherds. And critical to his display was the inclusion of live animals and real hay, which he borrowed from his close friend. He was convinced that without a live donkey and ox, it would not be a true nativity display. Why the insistence? There's this prophecy in Isaiah 1:3 that says, quote, the ox knows its owner and the donkey its master's crib, but Israel doesn't know and my people do not understand. So following the birth of Jesus, this verse was interpreted to refer to actual animals that may have been present at the time of his birth. You can see them in this wood cut up. They began to play an important part in understanding the birth of Jesus as a representation of the world being upside down, and that upside downness being our salvation. So animals in this space was, a reversal of the normal. The manger itself is not incidental. It's Eucharistic. The animals offer what they have, their space, their food. And Christ lays himself in the place where they turn for sustenance, a preview of the day where he would become food for the world. Later in Isaiah, the prophecy continues, quote, "The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard should lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the lion and the fattened calf together, and a little child should lead them." And now, that child had arrived. Before them, lying in their feeding trough, was the one who would inaugurate the restoration of all things, including the natural order. Gone would be the days when humans slay animals for food, and animals would kill one another for survival. An Edenic vision of renewal of the earth was at foot, a new world ahead of them, one that in many ways is still ahead of us. Even as humble animals, they possessed a knowing about the truth of Jesus that humans could not, because it didn't need to make sense to them. Instead of intellectual or theological platitudes like the ones I'm giving, they offered Jesus everything that they have, however meager it may be. Whereas the logical human response to the story of this baby king may be, "That's no Messiah. It's a baby." It is the lowly animals who knew their true owner, while the rest of us are blinded from the truth of this nativity event. The animals bear quiet witness, offering what little they have. They offer their attention. They didn't need to speak. They didn't need to understand. They made room. Next slide. And so did the earth. Jesus was born in a stable not by design, but by displacement. Mary and Joseph had been uprooted by imperial census. I know I've said it a lot. Far from home, far from help. They were strangers in a strange land, vulnerable, displaced, exhausted. Every human door had been closed to them, but the earth didn't close theirs. Ancient liturgy captures the scene like this, quote, "What shall we offer thee, O Christ, who for our sakes has appeared on earth as man? Every creature made by thee offers thee thanks. The angels offer thee a hymn, the heavens a star, the magi gifts, the shepherds their wonder, the earth its cave, the wilderness a manger. When no person makes room, the earth does. It offers its cave for shelter, its hay for warmth, its ground for the cradle of God. Even the sky participates by guiding the magi, not with words, but with a star brighter than any oil lamp. The created world responds to Christ's coming with hospitality, with alignment, with presence. There is something deeply instructive here for faith leadership. Not all participation is vocal. Not all leadership is platforms. Sometimes the most sacred work is making space when no one else will. The logic of the Nativity is not domination or control, but quiet cooperation. The earth and her creatures play a role with a kind of knowing that predates theology. They don't strive to impress. They don't strategize their contribution. They show up. Next slide. Jesus. God's ultimate reversal of power. What a preposterous idea. A virgin birth, an infant king, a peaceful Messiah. The birth of Jesus is the birth of the greatest paradox Scripture has ever known. God among us, wrapped in flesh. Heaven on earth, but swaddled and silent. Weak, strong, first, last, born again, the meek will inherit the earth. This is the good news we were waiting for? This child? For who? For when? His parents didn't even have the resources to birth him in a proper room. He arrived on the margins of the margins, born not just poor, but rejected, out of place, and entirely dependent on the generosity of others. And this was how God chose to re-enter the narrative. No armies, no coronation, no position, no power, just a newborn in a borrowed stable, surrounded by animals, a teenager, and her bewildered fiancé. And yet, somehow, this is the beginning of the kingdom. Sam Chand has famously said, quote, "The distance between expectation and reality is disappointment." And I imagine the Nativity was a little disappointing to more than a few, not because of the reality itself, but because their expectations were rooted in force. not humility. The Messiah was conceived with swordplay, not surrender. They wanted the empire to be overthrown, loudly. Who could blame them? But what they got was a child who couldn't even speak. So how does God lead? By letting go, by stepping down, by arriving not in strength but in need. And that is perhaps the greatest reversal of all, that the Savior of the world in Scripture came not to dominate but to dwell, not to command but to connect, not to display power but to become powerless. No money, no weapons, no territories to his name, just a child and his mother, and a band of interspecies witnesses. Just him and his wonder of all things. And that was enough. Hope came from that in the most upside-down way. Next slide. Every day is the Nativity, leading with radical hope in an upside-down world. It's easy to become desensitized to the Nativity story. Magi this, manger that, shepherds here, birds of birth there, tired. The details blur with each passing year, softened by repetition and wrapped in commercial nostalgia. The radical edge of the story, the sheer absurdity of it, starts to feel predictable. And many of us, especially in ministry and faith work, find ourselves relieved when the holiday season ends so we can get back to work. But what if this is the work? What if this is the work? What if the Nativity isn't just something we remember, but something we move from? One of the most common mistakes we make is chronologicizing, you know what word I'm trying to say, the birth of Christ, treating it like a historical or academic footnote, something to honor or study or admire from a distance. Again, many of us have traumatic responses, whatever. We remember what he did for us, forget what he is still doing through us. Orthodox liturgy gives us another lens. The worshipers don't sing, quote, "The Virgin once gave birth." They proclaim, "The Virgin today gives birth to the Transcendent One." Today, not yesterday. Not long ago in Bethlehem, now. Because the incarnation wasn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing disruption, a living, breathing invitation to participate in the kingdom breaking in. Not just when the world feels upside down, but through us as we help turn it upside down in all the right ways. What if every day is the Nativity? What if every meeting, every pulpit, every tough decision, every disappointing budget, every chaotic staff meeting is a stable in disguise? What if the manger is still showing up in inconvenient, unimpressive places, asking if we'll still notice, if we'll kneel, if we'll make room? This is what the Nativity teaches us, that peace doesn't come through performance, polish, or positional power. It doesn't come with status. It breaks in through humility, through weakness, through wonder. It comes to unwed teenagers, blue-collar dreamers, night shift shepherds, wandering outsiders, barnyards, and dry earth, and even you. And it keeps coming today. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. We're going to go ahead and extinguish the chalice. Please say with me the words on the screen. Our closing music is We Three Kings of Orientar, also found in your hymn book. Please stand as you're willing and able.
I think we know this one, so Mallory's just going to give us a very short introduction. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain moor and mountain following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect life. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh, prayer and praising all are raising, worship God most high. O star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Myrrh is mung near Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. Love forever ceasing never in our hearts to reign. O star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night.
My closing words are from Kala Childers from the UUA Worship Web. May I be happy. May you be happy. May we all be happy in this season. May I find peace and comfort in letting go of perfectionism and self-criticism. Help me feel the calm in the storm, even the ones in my own making. And those were inspired by a friend of mine who called me this week, in that panic of getting the decorations ready and the visitors who were and were not going to be there and all of that. And so let us just hold that, we're not perfect. We're going to do the best we can in this season and use that nativity story to hold us together. And I think that's it for our service. So Lori's just going to give us directions on getting ready for our potluck.